and welcome to Top Crop Manager this week. Today's edition is brought to you by Mix It Up, an initiative focused on taking action against weed resistance. In this episode, we present exclusive coverage of Top Crop Manager's 2016 Herbicide Resistance Summit, held March 2nd in Saskatoon. Diversity was a common theme for the day. Presenters stressed that growers must rely on a variety of weed management tools in order to slow the development of herbicide resistance.
Solving herbicide resistance with herbicides is not going to work. Diversity is a big issue, and it's a numbers game. So taking all that into account when developing a weed management program can really help us in managing and minimizing the impact of weeds that we have in our crops.
Adopt something now before you get to the situation where you have to adopt something later. The conservation of herbicides is just imperative if we want to continue effectively and efficiently producing crops, and the sooner you adopt technologies that support the survival of herbicides, the better off you will be into the future in crop production systems.
Whatever weed management practices you're using, either if they're herbicide-based or non-herbicide based, like my colleague Dr. Ian Heap mentioned, we want to be inconsistent in terms of our weed management. Don't do the same things year after year, because weeds rapidly adapt and they flourish when growers do the same thing year in and year out. So mix it up.
Diversify methods, diversify crops, and then just diversify your thinking. If something's working really well, switch to something else, because if it works too well for too long, the weed will become resistant.
We cannot continue down the path of doing the same strategy year after year, even if that strategy is effective. If you repeatedly use the same strategy year after year, that strategy will soon break.
What is really important is changing your practices. Knowing is not enough. You need to actually change what you're doing in the field and the advice that you're giving to growers. We need to make those changes so that we don't get into the kind of situation that we can see in Australia or in the southern US, where glyphosate resistance is the primary driver of all of their cropping decisions.
Something that we need industry to be doing is to develop new herbicide sites of action. But one thing they are doing right now is developing crops that have the same herbicides that we've been using in the past, but have new herbicide traits in them, so we can use herbicides in new ways.
I think farmers have to diversify their weed management tactics. They have to have multiple crops in the rotation. They have to use multiple herbicide modes of action each year on every acre. If they can use tillage at strategic points in their long-term crop rotation, that would be advantageous. If they can use cover crops at specific points in their rotation, that would help. And I think farmers need to make near perfect weed control their long-term objective on their farm, so that we reduce the number of weed seeds that are returned to the soil.
That's our show for now from Annex Business Media's Niche TV newsroom. Stay tuned for more exclusive coverage from the 2016 Herbicide Resistance Summit. Thank you to our sponsor, Mix It Up, an initiative focused on taking action against weed resistance. You can find more news about Canadian crop production online, or subscribe to the magazine and have copies delivered to you. On behalf of all of us here at Niche TV, thanks for watching.